This tutorial is for the assembly instructions for the walking movement using two 360-degree servos.
You will need pre-cut parts, 2 skewers, 4 pages of printed parts, 2 360-degree servos, duct tape, glue gun with glue sticks, a ruler, yellow wire, black wire, red wire, double-sided tape, a breadboard, an Arduino, wire cutters, a pencil, a USB cable, and scissors.
First, glue the two walls to the bottom frame, making sure that the motor holes are not directly across from each other, but offset. Once you have the two sides glued to the bottom piece, add the end braces to support the two walls. Next, place the motors through the motor holes, making sure that the rotating gear is towards the center of the frame. Optionally, you can tape the motors down to better hold them in place. Next, take 2 skewers and cut off approximately 4 centimeters or 1.5 inches from the end. Keep the cut off portion aside as we will be using them later. Then, put the skewers through the holes at the ends of the frame and center them so that there is equal spacing on each side. Next, take the 4 spacers and slide them down the skewer and glue them to the frame, securing the skewer in place. Now we are going to work on the motor crank. First, take the motor part and glue it to the crank, making sure to center it as best you can. Next, take the short end of the skewer that we cut earlier and put it through the outer hole of the crank. Then, take the circular spacers and glue them on both sides of the skewer to firmly hold it in place. You can finish the frame assembly by pushing the crank onto the rotating gears of the motor. To better secure them in place, you can screw the part into the motor gear using the screws provided with the motor. Next, let's work on the legs. Once you have the parts printed on thick paper, like poster board, you can start by cutting out all the paper pieces with scissors or a sharp knife. Make sure you keep track of all the pieces by either placing them in order or labeling them with their associated number. Once you have them all cut out and numbered, you can start folding the pieces by following the printed folding lines. Dashed lines mean mountain folds, and dotted lines mean valley folds. After you have finished folding, you can start assembling the legs. First, find paper strips 1 through 4 and place them together. Using the diagram provided, tape the contact points together using double-sided tape.
Here's what it should look like when you're finished.
Repeat this process for paper strips 5 through 8. Once you have both legs assembled, you can combine them by taping paper strips 4 and paper strips 8 to the opposite legs. Finally, hot glue the center of strips 4 and 8, leaving a slight hole for the skewer to pass through. Repeat this process so that you have 2 sets of legs when you are finished. Now we are going to attach the frame and the legs. Feed the frame skewers through the holes in the assembled paper legs, then take the cardboard spacers and glue them on the skewers, leaving enough space for the legs to move and rotate. Next, we will do the wiring. Make sure you have 3 strips of black wire, 3 strips of red wire, and 3 strips of yellow wire, and that they have exposed wire on each end. Take 3 strips of the black wire and place them in the same row of the breadboard. Move to a different row on the breadboard and repeat the process for the red wire and yellow wire, making sure each color has its own row. Now we are going to set up our electronics. First, plug in your Arduino board to the computer. Next, open up the Arduino software and create a new project. Then, copy and paste the code provided below into the Arduino project. Compile and upload your project to the Arduino board. Once you have your breadboard wired up, connect the middle black wire from the breadboard to the ground pin on the Arduino, labeled GND. Connect the middle red wire from the breadboard to the 5-volt pin on the Arduino, labeled 5V, and connect the middle yellow wire from the breadboard to the pin 9 on the Arduino, labeled by the number 9. Finally, connect the outer wires of the breadboard to the corresponding colors of the motor connectors: black to black, red to red, and yellow to the colored wire. Plug a USB or power supply into the Arduino and watch your robot walk.